Wonka is a movie that I wasn't really sure how to feel about. When this movie was announced, I said, "Oh God, why didn't we kind of learn our lesson from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake, where they were talking about exploring Wonka's origins?" I'm like, didn't we do that? And didn't people not like that? So it's kind of like, all right, I didn't really care to see this movie. Then I see the movie trailers, and I still felt the same way. So I had more things to criticize. I didn't like how Timothy Chalamet looked in the part. I could tell he was just trying to do a pale imitation of Gene Wilder. At least that's how it looked from the trailers. Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa looked kind of fun, but also not great. The CGI especially looked kind of iffy. And I don't know, it just didn't look right to me. So I went to the theater to see this movie because I make videos for my channel. I did a video on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the original Willy Wonka. I did videos on all those. And so it was just kind of like, I wasn't really sure what this movie was going to be. I love Willy Wonka, the original. I think it's probably in my top 10 favorite movies as of now. And so I went in with very skeptical eyes, even though I started seeing some good reviews from people I trust. And I gotta say, I do not like this movie as much as some people are. And this movie's not for everyone, but I still really liked it. So let me explain what works about this movie before I get into my issues and why it didn't just work for me as much, and then I'll also explain why I feel this movie won't work for everybody. So, what I liked about this movie was, surprisingly enough, was Timothy Chalamet. Timothy Chalamet is really good in the part, and that's really bizarre to say. He does a lot of his singing himself, I believe, and he really brought energy and fun to the character and made it his own. I never once felt like he was doing. As soon as he appears on screen and starts singing, I'm like, oh, this guy's his own Willy Wonka. I immediately bought into it from the moment he showed up on screen. It was very bizarre. I didn't even really register while I was watching the film that he's playing Willy Wonka from the original or the remake. He's his own version. It really worked for me. Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa, while he did not appear as much as the marketing will tell you, he is good in the movie. And he's a fun character that is just delightful. I also liked how weird this film is. There are so many weird running gags, British humor that was wacky and bizarre. There's Mr. Bean has a cameo in this movie. A lot of great British talent. This is from the director Paddington, and you can definitely feel his whimsy and his imagination running throughout this movie. And it's so weird and bizarre and unique. It's wonderfully directed. It's a beautiful looking movie. The songs, most of them having not being that great. There's a few standout ones that I really enjoyed in this movie. And this movie was a really fun movie. I enjoyed the character of Noodles. I don't love her as much as I've seen some people online and reviews say, but I did like her character. She was fun. I enjoyed all the characters in this movie, and I think they added a lot to this movie. And the villains of this movie, the Chocolate Cartel, they were pretty fun. There's this cop in this movie that's bought out by chocolate. He's played by Keegan-Michael Key, and he gets fatter throughout the movie. That was a pretty fun gag. And there's other just fun stuff like that I really enjoyed throughout the movie. Where this movie faltered for me is the marketing is lied to you. And what I mean by that is this is not a Willy Wonka prequel movie. Yeah, I guess you could argue that this is set before some version of the original movie, but it's not set before that original movie. There's no way the events of this movie tie into that movie because the Willy Wonka in this movie is a completely different character. And that's because they removed the edge of Willy Wonka, the insanity, the weirdness. And I think that's to be expected. And what I mean by that is the original movie was made in the 70s. And they can't really do that kind of creepiness or weirdness like the boat scene or whatever. There's no way to do that in a modern family movie. So they settle for this weirder, happier version of Willy Wonka, which still works for this version of the character. But if you're looking for a certain type of Willy Wonka, it isn't there. I don't really consider that a negative because I enjoyed this movie, and this Willy Wonka helps people. He's nice to people. The Willy Wonka you see in the other movies, he's a shut-in. He locks people out. He's mean to people. He yells at people. This character would never do that, and so unless they're planning another prequel to establish how this guy becomes meaner and more of a shut-in, then it's just not happening. This is just a different character. Or just a different interpretation of the same character. Which I'm totally fine with it being. I think this is a movie where, on first glance, it's a cash grab. And at the end of the day, this movie is still a cash grab. But the movie, I honestly, if you told me Paul King went to Warner Brothers, pitched this idea for a Willy Wonka movie, and said, let's do this. And Warner Brothers said, yeah, that's a viable property. We could do that. Instead of the reverse happening, where a studio approached a director saying, we have this idea for a movie, and then this is what happened. I would buy it because this movie does feel like there is love for this project behind the camera, and it is a fun movie, and it works, surprisingly enough. I mean, I didn't like all the songs. I thought some of them were, I think all of them were fine, but where I got where I was a little bit frustrated by some of the songs is you could really tell that it's what I hate in modern musicals, where none of the actors are actually singing on set. They're clearly auto-tuned, and it's not horrible. Like, I would still probably listen to these songs, a few of them outside of the movie. Most of them I'll just forget, though, because of how auto-tuned and cleaned up. I'm sure Timothée Chalamet did try to sing the songs, but maybe where his voice kind of had a little imperfections, they just fixed them in post, which just sucks because it's like that's not how it's supposed to be. If the actor can't actually sing, don't put him in the part. Make that music actually real. Have the actual actor sing. That's one of my compliments about the new West Side Story is all those actors actually sang and danced on the set. It was real. It was in camera. This movie kind of felt like it didn't really have that, which kind of sucks. But most of this movie was pretty good. Other than the CGI and the Oompa Loompa being a little bad. Now, I will say, there's been this rumor that Warner Brothers, some little people tried to audition for this movie to play Oompa Loompas, and they told them no, because of the Snow White remake controversy and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into any of that. But here's what I say. That rumor, I think we can put to rest as just a rumor, because the only Oompa Loompa in this movie, besides from a couple mild cameos in one particular sequence, is just Hugh Grant's character. And this movie, like I said, is directed by Paul King, the director of Paddington movies. He loves Hugh Grant. He's in those movies. So it's very clear that this was an intentional choice for Hugh Grant to be a fun cameo as this one Oompa Loompa and not anything else. It wasn't malicious against little people or short people. I apologize. I don't know the correct terminology because I usually don't have to refer to that kind of terminology just because I just don't encounter a lot of those people in my everyday life. So I apologize if I offended you guys in my audience. All I'm saying is they didn't maliciously harm a group of minorities that's struggling for jobs in Hollywood, from what it seems like to me. It seems like that this was an intentional choice by Paul King. I wish that the Warner Brothers and Paul King and all of them would come out and say this to clear up the air about this rumor, but I don't think that's true. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I would watch it again. Not in the near future, but definitely in the far future. Like, I could see this being like a movie that when my grandparents come to visit, they're kind of stick in the muds. They're always hard to find movies to watch that they will enjoy. This is one I think they would enjoy and I'd be able to put on for them and they like, sort of thing. And that's where I think this movie really worked for me. I don't think it's a horrible movie. I did have some problems with it though, and overall, I think this movie was a lot better than I thought it would be. I really just thought this movie was gonna be shit, guys. I really just thought I was gonna come in here, be like, "Fuck this movie! How dare they do this to Willy Wonka?" I'm joke, but like, I really just did not expect good things out of this movie, and I walked out pleasantly surprised. I hope we don't get more of these movies, but if we do, I'll go in a little more optimistic, I guess. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a really bizarre movie. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I want to say about this movie? There's just a lot here to talk about with this movie, surprisingly. Oh yeah, the marketing for this movie is really shit. I think I already mentioned that, but there's a couple other aspects about the marketing I really didn't like. Not only do they lie to you about this movie being a Willy Wonka prequel in a sense, this movie also had terrible marketing where, again, they advertise Hugh Grant as if he's in the movie a lot. He's not really in the movie at all. He's just really a fun cameo. And then the other thing is like, they don't tell you this movie's a musical, and I know some people go, "Well, it's a Willy Wonka movie. Of course, it's a musical." But here's the thing: the Charlie one wasn't a musical. There was music in it because the Oompa Loompas sing, but those were the only characters that sing. This movie, everybody sings. There's grand musical numbers. They really don't show you any of the actual music in the trailer. So I think that this movie is just poorly marketed. And I think that it's a good movie. But definitely definitely I think if you're gonna look at family movies to watch over the holiday season, this might be the better option. I think Migration kind of looks like shit, but we'll see it next week. And I'll talk about Aquaman. Looks like fun, but at the same time, I don't know. So let me know your thoughts, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.